It does take a little bit of humility because it's like, man, um, you can either be humble or be humbled, and that's really the option because it'll happen either way.
You are listening to the Go Earn Your Salt podcast, brought to you by Salty Electrolytes. On this podcast, your host, Riley Rogers, explores the stories of people who get after it, get things done, and earn their salt. You will hear from high achievers who discuss what makes them tick, how they got to where they are today, and where they're headed tomorrow. Perhaps this podcast will help you go earn your salt. Today we have my friend Isaac Payne from PAC Jiu Jitsu over in Rexburg, Idaho, of which I am an honorary member of the team.
Absolutely.
Been there like 3 times. It's wonderful. So that 3 times qualifies me for honorary member.
Nice.
Isaac is kind of a serial entrepreneur. You know, he made a joke to me off air about he doesn't have a full-time job. He has 5 part-time jobs, and that's the mark of somebody who has a little bit of healthy ADD and just wants to get a lot of things done. And so you fit right into the show, my friends. BJJ black belt. We're going to talk some about that. We're going to talk about Isaac's business career, kind of what it's looked like, and how he's made some pivots from one type of a business to another. It's going to be an interesting story. So, Isaac, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah. Well, talk about yourself a little bit here. Tell us kind of who you are, where you grew up, what life has looked like as you became the man you are today.
Sure. Excuse me. I grew up in rural Alaska. That's where I was raised. And if I always say that because nobody knows where my town is, but I imagine if you've been to Alaska, you might have heard it. It's Delta Junction, Alaska. It's like, a few hundred miles north of the coast and a few hundred miles west of the Canadian border. So it's like the exact middle of nowhere. It's where the Alaska highway ends. But it's a nice little town. There's only a couple thousand people there. It's pretty small, pretty remote. Great place to grow up. Like I always joke, it's a great place to be from. But I grew up there doing farm work and doing a lot of outdoorsy stuff, that kind of thing. Typical Alaska stuff. My dad literally works in a gold mine, still works there today. So that's where I grew up. I always consider like my first real martial art wrestling because I grew up wrestling in Delta Junction and slowly started accumulating martial arts over the years. In 1993, I watched the first UFC as a kid and I was like, man, this is mind blowing. But as you well know, at the time, it was kind of hard pressed to find a jiu-jitsu school, especially in Alaska. So I made do with my wrestling, with my karate and all those things. Eventually made my way to MMA, did a couple years of MMA, but then fell in love with jiu-jitsu once I finally got there. So I've been doing that ever since. But yeah, I got down here to Idaho to go to school. That's why I ended up here. So I came here to go to school. I was like, man, I am broke. So I need a job. So I figured I'd try this law enforcement thing for a couple of years, just pay my way through school. And then 16 years later, I was still doing it. So it's been good. I love law enforcement. In that time, I opened up my own jiu-jitsu school and I was doing both for a long time. And it reached this pinnacle where I could do one or the other really well, or both of them kind of halfway. So I opted to go the route of just doing my school. And I retired a couple of years early out of law enforcement, but I still keep my toe in the pool because I teach at pretty much every academy there is in the state of Idaho. And I teach all their, they call it arrest and control techniques, but all their jiu-jitsu stuff, all their hands-on stuff. I also teach their communications classes and things like that, and their ethics classes, anything that would have to do with like ethical decision making or communication. I help them with that too, because that's what my educational background's in. I went to school for communication, got my undergrad at BYU Idaho, got my master's degree at Johns Hopkins, and when I started doing just jujitsu, it kind of changed the trajectory a little bit, but I've loved every minute of it. I don't feel like I ever work anymore. It's just play all day.
That's so cool, man. You brought up something there. I just kind of want to springboard off here a little bit.
Sure.
It's maybe a little bit of a tangent, but you talked about the arrest and control tactics that you teach.
Absolutely.
We have a program like that at our jiu-jitsu school too, and I got to be part of that a little bit. I've got to be the dummy that they get to beat up and arrest, and
I think everybody should experience that.
Everybody should experience that, man. So I've worn handcuffs. Fortunately, that's the only time I've worn handcuffs. But the
Nice.
the thing that really caught my attention about that is as I was working with these guys, I was explaining to them how to control me, right? Um, I'm a trained grappler, and so
Right.
those
That
poor guys didn't
that's a
quite
task.
understand what that meant, right?
Yeah.
And this is not to talk about me, but it was to talk about this conversation I had with a few of the guys where I took the biggest, muscliest jack guy in the room, and his objective was to put handcuffs on me. And I started with me on the ground, face down, both hands behind my back, and he had my hands, my basically my fingers kind of locked together, right? And this is where he gets to start. And his objective was to arrest me. And you know how it goes, man. You're a highly trained grappler too. That was a 5 second escape, and I was up running away, right? And he's
Right.
going, okay. He's way
Wait
bigger,
a
way
minute.
stronger, way more athletic. But how the crap does he control me now? The conversation went down this path of if you have to hurt me to control me, you're going to induce a fight, right?
Right.
And so, depending on where you have my arm and how much pain I'm in, I cannot not tense up. You're going to view that tense up as resistance. You're going to
Right.
push harder. I'm going to resist harder. And all of a sudden, we're in a fight. But I'm like, but if you do these things and can control this position without hurting me, I can relax and let you put me in cuffs. When we had this, it was like an epiphany. There were six guys standing around, and
A light bulb
I was
moment.
one of, what's that?
One of those little light bulb moments
It
for all those
was, and
cops.
the encouraging thing was is that they received it that way. It was like, crap, I never really thought about I could be the one inducing this fight. So talk about what you experienced in that.
Oh, sure. I mean, I've been teaching arrest techniques for years, and I've obviously arrested lots and lots of people, had lots and lots of uses of force. I was always the weird one back in the day because that Isaac's that weird guy that just wrestles everybody to the ground, and it's like
Yeah.
I was the anomaly, and slowly over time I feel very vindicated because that's the way all law enforcement is going now. So I'm not so weird anymore. But it's it's a great exercise, and whoever had them do that drill is that's perfect. A lot of times I'll do something like that where I'll let two cops try and handcuff me, and they can't do it because they have no idea
Yeah.
how, and they get super frustrated. But then we go back and you're like, okay, let's break down how to do this for real. But like you said, pain compliance, as they like to term it, is a lesser form. Like that
Yeah.
can't make up for a lack of skill either. So a lot of times people think, well, I don't need to train that. I just need to induce a little pain, or I need to use my taser, or all these things that they think are like a workaround to actually getting real control.
Yeah.
And it's just lack of skill really. And like really it is difficult to learn. It is, I would say, a step more difficult than even just standard jujitsu because
Hmm.
I could just tap somebody in jujitsu, but I have to
Yeah.
control this person without hurting them and then get them not just to a submission, but get them in a very specific position where I can put cuffs on them. And that's hard. That's really difficult, especially if you don't train it. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of pain compliance. Now, in the course of fighting someone, do people get injured, hurt, feel pain, feel discomfort? Yes. I mean, and usually it's both sides. But
Yeah.
we're not trying to do that. That shouldn't be the objective. Like the old
Right.
school model used to be a lot of like standing wrist locks and pressure points. And I mean, you could take the LA model where they would just beat the crap out of everybody until they like put their hands behind their back.
Hmm.
But it's definitely that's a blunt instrument. Like that's not what we're
Yeah.
going for. And if you can train that stuff, you can actually get quite good at it to the point of towards the end of my law enforcement career, like I don't even think my heart rate got up the last couple times I wrestled with somebody. Like it was just too easy. And you hope that's what you want for everybody though. It's like I'm not special at
Yeah.
all. Like I can train anybody to get to that point. It just takes some training, some time. But
Dedication,
yeah,
right?
it's definitely a soapbox for me because although it's better now than it ever has been, as far as cops training jujitsu, training their combatives, training their arrest techniques, it's better than it's ever been, but it's still not good. Like you're
Yeah.
talking probably 1% train regularly. and that's not great. It's not great.
Right. Yeah, that percentage is kind of scary. The it was funny because I told you it was the biggest muscliest guy in the room, and he had the personality to back it.
Sure.
He was a tough dude, but we switched positions, right? And I get on his back and I get his arm controlled, and I was like, "You comfortable? Okay, now try to move." And this guy's like, it was cool to watch because again, he received it well. Um, so kudos to you for putting all this time into these guys because there's egos involved and there's resistance to, well, I don't need
Yes.
training, I have a taser, I'll just rough a guy up
Oh
or
man.
whatever it is. But when they start getting that vision, man, it's so cool to watch the how
Right.
much better they can be at their job, right?
Yeah, and I mean like you said, there's a lot of ego there because you have to have this supreme sense of confidence to do that job. And so there's
For
this
sure.
juxtaposition of being super confident but humble enough to actually go in and learn this stuff because it will humble you. So if you're not humbled, it'll humble you. And I mean, it's hard. It's hard and it's difficult and it takes time. And you're talking about people who their number one resource is time because they're so short on it. And it sounds harsh to say, but it requires some sacrifice. Like if you have to choose between going out with your buddies or maybe going to jujitsu, you should go to jujitsu. If you have to choose between lifting weights, which I love lifting weights, but if I have to choose between that or going to class, I should go to class. And like those are the trades we have to make. And some people just aren't quite there ready to make it. And a lot of them skate by on luck. They think, oh man, well, I've been a cop for X amount of years. I've done fine so far. But really is just, they're just being fortunate. They're just lucky. And it's like, you don't want to rely on luck. I never want to rely on luck. So I don't know. And it's a different world than it was when I started in law enforcement. When I started in law enforcement, nobody knew anything. Nobody knew
Yeah.
Jack. And now I mean, someone can watch one UFC fight and they can figure out how to do a rear naked choke or a guillotine, and then you're
Hmm.
in trouble because you don't know how to get out of that.
Yeah, that's crazy because there are those two techniques are in particular, right? They're
Yeah.
not they're not really
No,
that technical. Like, a
no,
guy
not
who's just
really.
strong grabs your neck, man,
They'll
and
get it.
squeeze you out.
Yeah.
um, well, listen, switching gears a little bit. That
Sure.
was a little bit of a tangent of where I kind of
No,
wanted
I
to
love
go, but
rabbit
super
holes.
interesting stuff. Yeah, and we're gonna get on a bunch of those. So, when did you get bit by the entrepreneur bug?
Oh man. Like when I started jujitsu, I never intended on opening my own school. That was never on my radar. Um, but when I got here to Rexburg, um, back in the day, and there was nobody really to train with. Like I would travel to schools, I would travel to go train with other people. You'll love this. My first actual ground class, jujitsu class, was with Keith Owen, who's a
Oh,
stud.
that's my man.
Miss that guy. He's great.
Yeah, for
Um,
those of you guys who don't know, Keith is my instructor. He passed away a few years ago. Um, so yeah, having that in common thread there,
it's a
that's
good.
pretty cool, man.
I
He's
think
a
I
great
told you
guy.
this story, but like, it was at the police academy, my very first time at the police academy, and this dude just walks in and he's wearing his pajamas. And there's like 30, young dudes in there that think they're hot stuff, young cops, baby cops. And he walks in, the first words out of his mouth are, "Who here thinks they can kick my ass?" So I'm like, I'll give it a go. Yeah, he went through all of us, just one by one, just trashed us. And when we were all sitting there, sweaty mess, he's like, "All right, are we ready to learn now?" And we were all like, "Yeah, teach us that." So I've been hooked on jujitsu ever since that day. Um, but like it was never like an intent of mine to open a school, but I had no training partners, nothing nearby. And it was Higa Machado who was like, "Well, I guess you're just gonna have to do it yourself." So as a blue belt, I opened my first school, like my first iteration of my school, and that's what
Oh,
we
right.
started with. And just a couple of us just training in a little room, and it's grown since then.
Well, how did you meet Hegan?
Through Mark Massey. So I was training out with Mark. I'd bounce around to places and go train with other black belts, whoever I could find. And Mark introduced me to Hegan, and Hegan and I have been buddies ever since. But we
Oh,
ride that
that's
same
rad.
wavelength. Hegan's kind of You've met him. He's a big teddy bear, very playful guy, loves jujitsu and loves life. So we get along great. So
Big teddy bear, but make no mistake, will choke you
make no
out, right?
mistake.
So you get started, you start your school as a blue belt, which that's a challenge, right? Because
That's
you're
wild.
still feeling your way out, trying to
Oh yeah.
the reason I'm bringing this up isn't to criticize like a blue belt starting a school because I think that's cool,
No.
especially when you're the only guy in the area, right? But there's that thing that business owners deal with where we always feel less than qualified to do
Right.
any venture we're trying to do,
Right.
right?
Well,
How did you
it's
skirt that?
so it's interesting because I did feel that because like I mean even looking back now I'm like a blue belt, that's craziness. But I had more than that in my resume. So I had a like a few years of MMA under my belt, some MMA fights. I train. I'm a martial arts nerd, so I've trained a lot of martial arts, karate, boxing, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, and so I added all those things into my business. Which gave it some validity and gave me a wider offering. And I think was a really good model in that first early stage because it wasn't just a blue belt with a jujitsu school. It was this guy is a blue belt in jujitsu, but he's also a black belt in this, a black belt in this, and been training this and this for years. And we can have like a little bit wider spectrum of things to offer. So I think that helped curb that feeling a bit. It was like, oh, I am qualified to do this. I am educated in this, and so and as you know, there's a lot of people that are absolutely world class black belts, world class jujitsu people, and absolute white belts at running a business. Like they can't do
Oh.
it to save their lives. And I feel like it was flipped for me. It's like I know a lot about the business side of it, but I'm still growing into my jujitsu side of it. And that's how that started. It's obviously leveled out a bit over time, but
Sure.
yeah,
No, that's fascinating, man, because you're the point you bring up about these world class black belts who don't know the business side of it. We see that in any business venture, right? We see
sure.
the guy who's a high level plumber, and he can do anything there is to do with fixing a leak or plumbing a house or whatever that happens to be. But then he decides to go out on his own, and the art form of owning and running a business is very different than
Yeah.
knowing the trade, right?
I met a guy who was a really good black belt, and he was talking to me about my school and everything like that. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to have a school a couple of years ago." And long story short, he lost it because he didn't realize he had to pay taxes. Just had no clue. I was like, "That's a big oversight," but okay. Just things that would seem very obvious, or little things that you might not know unless you had a background in that. Um, yeah, and you just have to have, and you can curb that hurdle too. I mean, there's people that take
Sure.
on business partners or seek, mentors in that respect. But yeah, I feel like I had a good educational background in that stuff. But the jujitsu has been slowly teetering back up to that. So
That's that well, jujitsu is a long game, right? But
it's a long game.
it's a long game. But so is business. We
Yeah,
it's all kind of one and the same thing. It's like, we say 10, 12 years it takes to get a jiu-jitsu black belt. Awesome. You know, that's a long time, but to really get good at business, man, it takes 10 or 12 years. It's
it
like
does. It really does.
you just have to go through the fire, and it sounds like you went through that fire and
Oh, absolutely. And you figure things out, because we could have the same business and just move it over to another city, another town, and it could change the dynamic of it completely. And unless you learn to pivot and pick up on those little nuances quickly, oh, you're in trouble. So there's things like that that just take, like I said, just take time to figure that out.
yeah. Well, let's talk about that pivot because you had when you first started your company, PAC, PAC, your
Yeah,
last name's Payne, so it's Payne
yeah.
Athletic Company. It wasn't a jujitsu school then.
No, it was much bigger in scope than that. So we had an MMA program, we had a Krav Maga program, we had Muay Thai, boxing, anything I could think of. I was just chucking it in there. We had a weight room, I had a boxing ring, we had it all, and it was huge, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Like it was like my own personal playground, right? It's like if you can imagine. a grittier UFC gym that you could just go in and just do all the things you love to do. That was it. The problem that I ran into, because it kept growing in scope, it was very difficult to manage. Very difficult to keep all those moving parts going. I even had like a 24-hour door access, like people coming and going all hours of the day and night. So it became a monster. It slowly like took over my life. So I changed the paradigm a little bit, and at that point, I was a brown belt, about to get my black belt from Hegan, and I was like, okay, I'm changing the model. I'm going to eliminate all the things that don't make me money. That they're a lot of fun, but they're not cost effective or they're not making the money, right? Which is a hard choice because
Yes.
when you love something but it's not bringing in the revenue, like it can't cost me money because that's literally taking money out of my pocket and food out of my family's mouth. So it's like those things got to go. So I got rid of a lot of the stuff. I sold my boxing ring, got rid of a lot of the fitness side of it, and realized that really all I need is a room with a mat. That is all you need. And everything else is extra. And if the extra adds value or adds revenue, great. If it doesn't, I got no room for it. I got no time for it. So I streamlined my schedule. Um, I started training a lot more coaches to teach things so I wouldn't have to teach everything because that was something Carlos Machado taught me. He's like, always fire yourself. It's like, don't do everything yourself. Teach someone else how to do it, then fire yourself, move on to the next thing. And I'm like, that's the new model. So now I teach once a week because I want to,
Yeah.
not because I have to. And it's jujitsu primarily. Like we are a jujitsu school. I do have an MMA team, but instead of doing like one, come all, come learn MMA, it's I will handpick people that are interested and competent to learn MMA. And so now we'll have like 4 or 5 guys. That's it. That's our MMA team. They have focused trainings together so that not every Monday are they teaching the new guy how to jab. They're building skills and getting much better, much faster. So it's a little bit more streamlined that way. So that's been super successful. So I've been really happy with that. We still do a Muay Thai program because I think every grappler needs to know how to strike. So
Yeah.
we do that, and yeah, that's pretty much the model now. It's not 24 hours anymore. We have a schedule. Show up for class. When class is not in session, everybody go home. So that was the big shift, and it just came down to efficiency. And what's crazy from a business perspective is that before this, my prices were relatively cheap. Like nothing was over $100. It was super super cheap. And then afterwards, I upped the prices and I limited the schedule, and I totally changed the branding. I changed the logo, shortened the name even, and I upped my prices. And I actually do better now financially than before, even though I offer less and my prices are higher. So just a little more efficient.
You'd say you offer less, but the reality is you probably offer more because it's focused,
Exactly.
right?
I should definitely put it more like that because it's more focused.
Yeah.
Our grappling's gotten better, our MMA's gotten better, and it's like you can actually progress a little bit better.
That's a fact. You said something there, man, that I just think business owners should really listen to. And that was, if it wasn't making you money, get rid of it and exchange it for something that does. Right. I
Yeah,
see
or at
that.
least adds value to where I can sell this product a little bit better. And
Yeah.
that's hard. And a lot of times we run into um, this ideology where it's like, well, I'll just offer discounts. Here's a sale, and we devalue ourselves all the time. It's like we devalue our time, we devalue our product, and it's like, no, it's like I have this great product. I know it's good. I know my product's good. This is the value that it's at, and it doesn't go down except for a rare occasion. And people feel that. They feel when something has a value to it. They feel when something has that price to it because it's worth it. And
Yeah.
not backing up on that is another hard thing to learn. But you get to the point where you're like, no, if you want my time, this is what it's going to cost.
All right, you sweaty buggers. That liquid dripping off your forehead and down your back contains minerals that are critical for high performance. If you don't put those minerals back, you're not going to perform well. This is where Salt Electrolytes comes in. Salt contains 6 electrolyte minerals plus a touch of iodine to help you replenish after a hard workout. Salt is the only electrolyte supplement to pair every mineral with its counterpart, giving you the most robust mineral profile on the market, period. Head over to goearnyoursalt.com today to get some for yourself. Use the code GOEARNYOURSALT to get 15% off your first order. And now, my friends, go earn your salt. I had this conversation just this morning. I was sitting down with a guy and we were discussing a potential business move he wants to make, and he was wanting to buy a machine that would allow him to produce a product that was higher end than any of his competitors had, and none of his competitors actually have anything. They have something that's sort of similar, but this would have put him heads above everyone else. But it's a $25,000 investment, and he's going, should I do this or should I not? Because, you know, they're charging this much, which is outrageous price for it. I could do it for 30% less and have this better product. And I'm like, if you take a better product, charge 30% less, no one's going to believe you it's a better product. You know, and to him, he's going, I can't, you know, because they're already charging this so much. I can't even fathom charging that. To charge more than that, it scares him.
And because just to the general person, they would think like, oh, if I want more people to buy my product, I should make it cheaper. That way they'll buy the cheaper product over there. But it's not that way. There's a psychology to that that's totally different. And you have to have confidence in your product and in yourself. Like, because we're not the only jiu-jitsu school in town anymore. Jiu-jitsu is much more popular now. But when someone comes in, I'm a terrible salesperson, but when someone comes in, they try a class, they're like, well, I'd really like to go try all these other schools. I'm like, do it. I encourage you to go do it. Go try them out. Try them all out, and you'll be back. And that sounds super cocky, sounds very arrogant. But when someone's looking for this at this level of worth, of value, they're going to see that. And then if they go try the others, like your friend, they're going to see like, oh, well, this isn't as good. Why would I spend even, I'll pay more to have the better product is essentially what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's just a killer realization, man. And you know, back to the efficiency thing. You're talking about this efficiency thing of having things that produce profit or getting rid of them completely. And it reminds me of like that, you know, that you see these contractors who, you know, they frame houses or something, and they've got this $90,000 pickup that they're beaten to death with, you know, throwing lumber in the back, and I'm just like, oh, you don't need a $90,000 truck for that job, man. That $10,000 '95 Chevy is going to do you just fine. Beat that one up.
Right. No, that's the kind of have to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's what you did, right? You're like, we buy things sometimes in a business setting where you said personal playground. I love that term because that's kind of what it was, right? It was like, this is cool to have, but
super cool. Very fun.
Oh man.
And that's hard. But so there's nothing saying like, okay, you know, this afternoon, if I wanted to go grab my boxing gloves and grab some friends and go do some boxing, we could go do that. There's nothing saying, but it doesn't have to be part of my business model. It doesn't have to be part of my business plan. So separating those two things out can be very difficult because you tie so much of yourself into your business, and you are part of your business in a big sense. Like just like you know, you're the face of your company. I'm the face of mine, and it's like. But you can have your personal time and do with it what you want. And if someone wants to come along for that, that's great. But as far as the business goes, that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's good wisdom right there, man. Okay, so you are currently, we've already sort of named names, but without going into like detail of it, you're an affiliate school in an association. Without necessarily naming, because it's not necessary for the conversation, but what made you choose the path you chose? Was there just an established relationship, or was it certain features about it that stood out to you?
I mean, the first school I ever trained at, they were technically under Marcelo Alonso, and Marcelo's great. He's a great guy. When I got here to Idaho, there's a lot of Pedro Sauer in Idaho. I love Pedro Sauer too, by the way. He's an absolute stud.
Awesome, my man. Yeah, my jiu-jitsu grandpa.
Dude, he's one of my heroes. And but I had met Mark and I had met Hegan, and Hegan and I really vibed in a lot of ways. And as I describe it, I'm sure you can be like, yeah, that makes sense because Higgins loves to have fun. He loves to learn new things. His jujitsu is a little different even than his brothers because back in the day he would do worlds and everything like that, and he would compete in all his jujitsu competitions, and he'd be out of competitions because there weren't that many. So he also did sambo and wrestling. And he's been world champions in all those sports as well. And so he, 30 years ago, came back to Brazil after doing sambo and all these other things. And he's like, guys, these leg locks and things, they're the future. If you don't do these in 20 years, you're going to be obsolete. And wouldn't you know, that's pretty prophetic. But I've
Yeah, that was
I've grown up
correct.
doing a
Yeah.
lot of because I grew up doing wrestling, and he's like, that wrestling's awesome. Let's see how we can weaponize that wrestling and turn it into jujitsu wrestling. Oh, you could do that. Well, let's do this. And it was never like this because a lot of times in jujitsu we get very dogmatic. And Keegan is not that way, bro. He is not that way. Like anytime I come up with something creative or new, he'll sit there and we'll workshop and we'll play with it, and it becomes this kind of creative process, putting the art in martial art. And we always vibed like that. And I was like, this is the path I need to be on because this person lets me grow and experiment and do things. So yeah, just having that freedom has been huge to me.
Yeah, that's a weird thing how, because there's a lot of jujitsu memes that are, how culty it gets and how
Right.
dogmatic it gets. Like, we do it this way and those leg locks are for losers and that's a cheap win,
Right.
or wrist locks or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
But it's like those all win matches. Um,
Yeah. There was a
if you
great
don't
Hegan
know them,
moment
you're in
where
trouble.
I was working on this funky like leg lock entry. I was like, "Oh, Hegan, let me show you this dumb move," and I did it. And he's like, "Did he tap?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's not a dumb move then. If it works, it's
There you
not
go.
dumb."
Right. Yeah. No, I love that because I know Jean Jacques that way. Carlos is
Yeah,
that way, right? Those are all Machado brothers for the non
yeah,
jiu-jitsu
very
folks
open
listening to
minded.
this. Open-minded people, and Pedro's that way. I watched Pedro at the PGF, man, and
What a stud.
the guy. It's so funny because he's sort of known for being more traditional jiu-jitsu, but make no mistake, that guy is up on the stuff. He knows his
Right.
team actually ended up winning, right?
Yeah, and it was. I have a great Pedro story from that because I was there helping manage athletes, and you were there. Like the PGF
Yep.
breaks people, like physically breaks people, and we were running out of alternates to throw in, and Pedro had the last two like healthy alternates left, um,
Yeah.
and I was asking if we could use them on other teams to fill the gaps in case we needed them, and the athletes weren't super inclined. They're like, man, I'd rather like stick with my team. And to their credit, they're very loyal. Um, but Pedro's sitting there and he stops everybody and this is what he said, but he's, boys, did we come here to fight or to watch? And they're like, to fight. So they jumped in and got some matches in. He's like, you wouldn't have fought otherwise. So I thought that was a cool moment. There's a cool Pedro Sauer moment. It's like, did we come here to watch or did we come here to fight?
It's funny because he's such a gentle spirited guy.
Oh,
You would
so chill.
never see him as a fighter. But boy, man, that's in there.
You can see it in his eyes though.
Yeah. Yeah, he that's in there for sure. It's such a
Oh, for
such a
sure.
cool dude. Um okay, man. So owning this business, this jujitsu school, right? We always you've probably heard this term before. Business is fun until people get involved, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, what's been your biggest challenges with let's just because you've done a lot of things, but with the school in particular, what's your biggest challenges?
I mean, for me personally, I've always understood the people side of it, and that was always a thing I started with early with both my communications education, but also in law enforcement. I just understood people. I could talk to people, I could get along with people, I could manage people, and that's fine. It was the numbers side for me. Like I'm not inclined that way. Like if you want to put me to sleep, just show me a spreadsheet. Like I struggle with that. Luckily, I have a very gifted business partner in my wife who's very good at that side of that. Because you have to. There's a another lesson from Carlos. He's like, if you don't know your numbers, you're failing. because you have to know your numbers. You have to know where your memberships are at. You have to know what your prices are. You have to know all the numbers, all this, like, and it's not that I kick all that off to her and make her do it on her own, but I definitely lean on her as she is more talented in that realm, and that's my go-to business partner. And I've never incorporated, like, I've had lots of instructors, but I've never incorporated another business partner because I was always scared. Because, like you said, introduce new people, introduce new problems,
Yes.
because that dynamics always works so well.
Yeah.
But that's always
I
been my biggest struggles with the numbers. Anyway,
yeah. Well, and so that's a common thing, man, with you said you put the art in martial arts, right? It's so you have that kind of artistic brain. That part is it eludes people who are that artistic creative type, man. When
yes.
all of a sudden you've got to put like concrete, these things have to be done. But they're like, man, I want to do the pretty
I
part.
just wanted to, yeah. And I think that, like, I mean, because you've probably met tons of them. There's tons of guys coming up in jujitsu like, oh, I'd love to own a school one day. I'd love to, and not discrediting them or discouraging them in any way, but they see it as like, oh, I just show up and do jujitsu, teach jujitsu, and I go home. It's like that's like
That's
30%.
10%. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then there's all this behind the curtain stuff that you have to do that they don't even know exists. And I don't take that as an insult or anything like that. It's just they don't know it's there, but
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, right? And this you talked
Right.
about earlier about you have to figure that stuff out. And but how would you suggest somebody in any business form figure that stuff out before they're so into it that they can't survive that learning curve, that dip?
And asking questions has always helped me out quite a bit, and seeking out people that are a little further down the road, because in the beginning, I mean, you might have a good theoretical knowledge. I felt like I had a good theoretical knowledge, but there are a lot of things that I didn't have experience in, or you'll always run into a scenario that you have not yet encountered. And finding those people that are good mentors, people that are a little further down the road than you, that have been at it a few more years, even if they're not in your area. I mean, Keegan, Carlos, all the Machado brothers have been super helpful to me, to where I could pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, this is what I got. Do you have 5 minutes to talk me through this?" And they'll do it. And that has been gold to me because I don't have one, I know I don't have to do it on my own. And two, I have someone who's already been there and come out the other side of it. So it does have a little bit of hope to that as well. It's like, oh well, if they can do it, I can do it.
You know, that's a such a good point, dude, because you're talking about having some humility to ask those questions. Because,
Yeah.
and we want to go in there like, yeah, we're the owner of this business, and we don't want to. It's sort of like being a black belt and not admitting that. You know, I was talking to a guy the other day. I was like, my leg lock game. I thought 10 years into this thing, I'd have a leg lock game, and I got a little bit,
Yes,
but
sir.
it's not amazing. But there's also all these other areas that,
So much, so much.
it's
Well,
so
and
big,
that's the
right?
thing too, and it's we always draw these comparisons, jujitsu is life, but it does like parallel a lot of times because there's so
Parallels.
much of jujitsu, so many things. It's like you can't have a high level game, so to speak, at everything in jujitsu. It's just not
Right.
possible. So
Not
we
possible.
become quasi specialists. We have a good general knowledge, but then we have an area where we kind of shine. And I think
Yeah.
that's okay. And it happens the same way in business. It's like, okay, I have a general knowledge and I shine here. But then having the humility, like you said, to be like, okay, this is not my area of expertise, or at least not what I'm particularly gifted at. I'm going to find somebody who is. So it's
Yeah.
like my coaches. Like I have coaches at my school that are better at things than I am. And I'm okay with that. I'm glad that makes me happy because it's not something I'm good at. I can task that to this person who's much better at it, who can teach it, who can do it. And I can reap the benefits from that and vice versa.
All right, dude. So you just kind of hit a hot button right there. I don't even know if you know you just waded right through that one, but this idea of admitting that someone who's on paper a subordinate to you, admitting that they are better at a thing.
Oh
Okay.
man, openly.
Talk about that a little bit because that takes a level of maturity to go, you know what? Yeah, the result that guy's going to get out of this is I'm gonna get. So I'm gonna let him do that and let him run
Yeah.
with it. How'd you
I
get
mean,
over that hurdle, man? That's a
ooh,
pride issue.
right. And it sounds counterintuitive because starting as a blue belt, you don't have that. Like, because everybody's pretty close to you at that point. It's like we're all just kind of bros. Like we're all pretty close to the same level. So there was never kind of that feeling in the beginning. And I think I've just never let go of that white belt, blue belt mentality where it's like I can learn something from anybody in the room. And if you want your jujitsu to grow, just as general recommendation, keep that white belt attitude. It's like I don't care if it's a room full of newbies. Somebody in that room can teach me something cool. I know they can, or they'll help me refine something. It's like you might have an A game, something that you're super, super good at, and you do it on somebody who's brand new that doesn't react right, right?
Yeah.
And they teach you a new way to do that. And you just found some value in that experience. And I think that's always there. And there's people that are super gifted. They have super good talents, even just down to different body types. Like
Yeah.
I have coaches that are 150 pounds and I have coaches that are 250 pounds. They're going to do things very differently. And that's good because we have all these students and they're all different. So they might resonate with one coach's delivery method, whether it's the way he teaches, or they might resonate with this coach's body type because they're similar to them. And that's great because it just helps everything get better.
Yeah.
But it does take a little bit of humility because it's like, man, um, you can either be humble or be humbled. And that's really the option because it'll happen either way. I'd rather do it
Holy crap,
voluntarily.
dude. Okay. Time out. That statement is so true. You can either be humble or be humbled.
Yeah,
Holy crap. Um, People hear that because it's happened one way or another, right?
it's gonna happen. And I've tapped every belt at every belt and been tapped by every belt at every belt. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
The I was talking about this to a guy yesterday, right? We were grappling and he's much lower belt and it was, you know how it goes. It's not really a fair contest, right? We're grappling and he gets done and he's like, "Man, I just feel like I can't do anything." He says, "Is it possible that I could ever submit you?" And I'm going, "Yeah. If you do
Absolutely.
jujitsu right, it'll work on anyone,
It
right?
will.
You just
That's the
don't do it
truth.
right often enough because you're brand
Right.
new at this, right?" So I had this experience where I had about a 3 year gap where a blue belt had not submitted me in 3 years. And then one week, a blue belt and a white belt got me in the same week. And it's what you're saying, it's like,
Yeah.
all right,
Well,
yeah, that's how it
yeah.
goes.
And
My
you can either let it eat you alive and you're like, fine, this is stupid. I'm never doing this again. Or you sit there and deconstruct it and it makes you better for it. So it's really
That's
the
right.
two options. And one of the cool things about regular training partners is they're dissecting you even like subconsciously. They're like, well, I did
Yeah.
it that way the last time. It didn't work. I'm going to tweak this. And they get better at beating you, which is awesome. But
Yeah.
at the same time, not losing faith because when you go train with new people and they don't know what you do and they don't know how you move, um, all of your jiu-jitsu is going to work a lot better. It's the hardest people are the ones you train with the most because they're not going to let you get away with all your shenanigans.
Oh, my bull crap. Yeah. No, the cool thing about it is, man, in that statement you made, you can be humble or be humbled. When that happened, there is that little part of our ego that's just like, crap, man, I just got caught. Now,
Yeah,
I can do that in wine, or I can celebrate, And in this case, I was genuinely able to go, you know what, freaking high five, dude, because they're
yeah,
sitting there like on cloud nine because they just tapped a higher belt, right?
sure,
Um,
give them it.
give it to them. Holy crap!
Yeah,
And so the same thing with employees, or in your case, coaches.
you
It's
give them
like
their wins.
give them their wins, build that up, love them for it because they just did right. They did what you taught them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're doing the things you taught them. So like, it's a win for both of you, really. It's like when I train people up, like I know you've experienced the same thing. It's like they start in the beginning and maybe they're like that guy. It's like, oh, I can't do anything to him. And then slowly they get a little bit more competitive with you, and you're like, it's like it's bittersweet because now they're
Yeah,
they're beating you up a little bit, but they're doing that because you taught them right. And so it's
yeah,
like it's bittersweet. But to put people in a box to where it's like, okay, I need you to do this exactly like how I do it, and you can only do it this way. I mean, you're putting a ceiling on them. You're putting a ceiling on your business. So just let them flourish, and like obviously keep it within bounds. But you want things to be safe,
Yeah.
to be efficient. You want things to be done well, but don't stop their growth. Keep them growing. Make them as big as they can be.
Yeah. So beautiful, man. You talked about Carlos Machado saying you got to always trying to fire yourself, right?
Always.
And that's what it is until our stinking ego gets involved, and then somebody does something better than us, and then we want to bellyache about it. And
And
yeah,
Carlos is such a humble guy, and he's an interesting case study too, because he is the oldest
see
Machado
that?
brother. He's also oh, there it is. He's the oldest, but also the smallest Machado brother as far as size. And so his training partners, his four other brothers, were all bigger than him. His go-to training partner is Hegan, who is the
It's the
biggest one.
biggest.
And so he's suffered this his whole life. Can you imagine? Not only you're not only like getting beat up by your little brother, but your little brother that's bigger than you. Like that's humbling. You better get good at jujitsu, which he is. He's amazing at jujitsu. So he
Yeah,
took it as an
crazy
opportunity.
good. Yeah. Oh man, and it's funny. I held this Stay Humble coffee up for you guys who don't know Carlos.
Yeah.
That's his company, so he owns
Yeah, that's the
Stay
Carlos
Humble
Machado
Coffee.
way.
But
Work hard, stay
yeah,
humble.
but that's and he lives up to it, man.
He does.
Um, he's going to be coming on the podcast here shortly.
Good.
I'm excited for that recording, for sure. Okay, so we're kind of getting a little off our track here, but we
No, you're
talked
good.
about these challenges of owning a school.
Sure.
What's your favorite part about owning a school?
Man, it's like people by nature. Like we like to think we're, especially as, red-blooded Americans, we like to think we're individuals and that we're strong individuals, but in reality, human people are pack people. We need others, and having a place to call your group, your tribe, your people is essential. Like it's just a necessary thing for a healthy human to have. And I've always had that with jujitsu in general, but then having my school, it's like it's more than friends. It's like having a family, a tribe to go to every day. And we like it's like it's not just like okay, we go to class and we go home. It's never that. We hang out with each other. We help each other move. We're there for each other when we have babies. We're there for each other when a family member dies. Like you have this extended family, not by blood, um, that's huge and it's beautiful and
By
that's probably
sweat.
my favorite part. Yeah, we've swapped sweat. It's there's a bond there.
Yeah.
But that bond is definitely real, and I've loved that. I love um, because we do have a lot of people like train and then they'll move away because that's what happens in life. And I've sent a lot of people out into the world, and I love getting those messages. I love getting those check-ins. They're like, "Hey, man, miss you guys." I've always remember my time at PAC because this is what I learned, and I'm carrying that with me in my new school. And it's like I love getting messages like that. It's like it's that little ripple effect where it's like, okay, you do one good thing for somebody and it dominoes out into the world. And I feel like that's the effect that even just a tiny school like ours can have just in the greater scheme of things.
Oh, that's so awesome, man. No, it's that way with any business, right? And we see jujitsu because we're always sweating and kind of,
Yeah, that's
kneeling
yeah.
on each other's heads. We go through some hard stuff together, but every business is that way, man. You're fighting the freaking battles. You're out there killing stuff and dragging it home, as Dave Ramsey always says. It's
Yeah,
a
exactly. Yeah.
that's a real deal. When people who fight together, there's a bond.
It,
You know.
there's a bond for sure.
So, Isaac, you made that kind of a fun comment at the beginning of the thing that you don't have a full-time job. You have 5 part-time jobs. So you don't
Sure.
just run a jiu-jitsu school. You have some other stuff in
No,
your world. And
I have a lot of side hustles. I'm a collector of side hustles. Like I said, I still teach the arrest techniques and
uh,
combatives in Idaho's police academies. We call them post police officer standards and training. So I teach at Idaho State University at their post academy. I teach at College of Eastern Idaho, CEI's academy. I also teach some in-house ones. So an agency will call me up and be like, "Hey, we need someone to come instruct this course for us," because they have a mandatory amount of hours that they have to meet every year in training. So I'll make sure that I'll at least cover my area like as much as possible. I teach with if you know Jed Lewis, he owns a jiu-jitsu school in Shelley, Idaho.
That's Shelly.
We
Yeah.
teach a lot. We teach a lot together. He's like my go-to training partner for arrest techniques. He works for IFPD. Um, but yeah, I do a lot of that. I also um, work with Anaconda Fightwear, which I know you've seen their knee braces and stuff. So I do
I
do
have
some
one.
work with them as well. Yeah, those types of things. And trying to think of any other side hustles I got going on right now. Those are the big ones right now. So I do a lot of teaching. I teach at a couple different schools. Um, yeah, that's pretty much the gigs right now.
We'll talk about that, man, because that's something that sometimes people who are real high achievers, they will have this other venture that's sort of
Sure.
kind of adjacent, maybe, but maybe
Right.
totally separated.
Totally. It might be totally different, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think
And is
that's
it
totally healthy.
that's what I want to get at is do you recommend that? Because I think, man, if we
Oh
do the
yeah.
same thing every day, all the time, and nothing else, burnout.
10,000 hours is a steep mountain to climb to become a master, especially when the task at hand puts a relentless demand on your body. There is nothing casual about this sport. It's all in, all effort, all focus. It takes a lot from you, but the reward is unmatched. Mastery of oneself, an acute understanding of your weaknesses with an explosive sense of your strengths. Being able to complete the climb to mastery requires the proper nutrition. This is why it's important to take in a potent blend of electrolytes that is in tune with your output and brings strength to your goals. This potent blend is only found in salt electrolytes. Salt targets your depleted electrolyte levels with a boost of hydration and health. It gives your body the baseline recovery it needs.
Oh,
Right.
it's really, I mean, I love what I do. And there's still days where it's like, man, there are days where I've spent 12 hours on a mat. I am just smoked by the end of that. And to have other things is huge. And we talk about it in law enforcement all the time because that has much the same thing where it's like people make it their identity. It's all of who they are. And when any part of that gets compromised, it compromises themselves. And you can't have that. So you have to kind of diversify yourself. So having time with your friends that maybe aren't jujitsu friends, have a diversity of friends that you can talk to about different things, even if they have no idea what you're talking about. Doesn't matter. Have family time. That's huge to me. Have a spiritual life. I don't care what religion you prescribe to, if any, but have some kind of spiritual element to your life. And then have other ventures that you want to try out. Like maybe they're adjacent, maybe they're totally different. It's fine
Mm.
to where it's like, okay, this perks my interest. I want to do a deep dive into that and see what happens. Like it was this last year, my wife and I were sitting there talking, and we're like, you know what? I've never made soap. I want to try making soap because I'd ran into some guys at ADCC who made their own soap. I was like, man, that sounds cool. I want to try that. So for the past year, I've kind of been working on making my own soap. So just working on that type of stuff where it's like, okay, I have a project, I want to try it. And I think that that keeps your creative mind going too, to where it's like, I have to keep learning something, and something that'll keep you excited too.
I love that, dude, because you're people ask me when we created the salt electrolytes brand, like I get asked constantly. It's not like a one-time thing, but probably once a week somebody will come up and say, did you have a nutrition degree? Did you have this kind of thing? And I'm going, no, no, I didn't at all. In fact, it wasn't even ever been a thought. But you don't have to have a college degree to do that. You can study that stuff in other places.
So much
So yeah, I don't
information
have
is
a
just out
diploma
there.
hanging out back here.
There's so much information out there that you just, I mean, we live in the information age. Like if you want to learn something, it's there. You can find it.
It's there.
It's all out there. And I've never met anybody that knows the science of what you do better than you. I'll just say that.
Well, I appreciate that, dude. That means a lot because I spend a lot of time in these
I know you do.
stinking white papers. You know, you talked about going to sleep for a spreadsheet, man, and I've read plenty of that kind of stuff. That it's like, I don't know how to put it. You can read through stuff like that, and a lot of it's repetition.
Sure.
But you might spend 6-8 hours reading through something to find this nugget in there that's so valuable. And I hear that kind of as a thread in your world where, you know, you did that with jujitsu, right? How many times have you learned an armbar?
Yeah,
Thousands,
right.
right? By the time you get to your first degree, is that
Yeah.
in your black belt? So just so you guys know, to make first degree black belt in 13-year period that you talked about, that's difficult.
It's difficult.
You've put the time in, my friends. What I say by that is you've learned an armbar 1,000 times, but every so often you pick up another nugget and it changes your effectiveness there. And I felt like that way with these white papers, man. I just read so much data, and it's just data. It's not stories. It's not fluffed up. It's not entertaining. It's just to learn. But then there's these little things in there. And I'm like, man,
That makes it
all
all
that
worth
reading
it.
was worth it because I got this one.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and it's like that too. And I do get to travel a bit, and I get to go to train at other schools and things like that. And I think that's super healthy too, um, because of that element. It's like I might go train at a Carlson Gracie school in California, and I might get to go train at a 10th Planet in Seattle, and they're both teaching arm bars, but I'm going to get two different things from those, and they're both going to
Right.
make me better. And I just take that, and like John Jock always says, I'm Mr. Steal Your Move. So he'll steal your move, and he's going to put that in his tool belt. So
It's so funny because I've been making those. Well, you did one of the add a little salt to your game videos with me, right?
yeah,
Um, when I went down and had a private with Carlos, and I did the seminar at your place, and then I went to his
yeah,
camp in the spring, and there was this stuff that he was working on that I I've been stealing, right? I've been
yeah.
and I put it in my videos. I always credit him in there. I kind of put a little link and a tag
Right.
so
I
he
always
knows
try to do that
I'm
too. This
doing
is
it.
where I
But
got this. You know.
yeah, but it's like he he celebrates that, man, when I steal something from him.
Does.
And
Yeah, he's
that's called
genuinely
learning, right?
excited. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. 10th anniversary of your school. You mentioned this to
Yeah.
me. Congrats, man, cuz
Thanks.
again, small business, what's the average small business lasts 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah. Yeah. If you make it to 5, you're doing good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
You talked about
and it's definitely
Go
been
ahead.
a road, right? Like we've seen a lot of things, learned a lot of things. I mean, we survived the whole COVID thing. We survived um multiple locations, you know how that goes, but um yeah, just a lot of ups and downs, but everything is always on an upward trajectory for us. So I feel very blessed, and I don't feel like that's all due to me. I feel like that's due to my wife primarily, and due to my team. But yeah, that's why we're still here. It's a group effort.
Yeah, for real, man. Well, again, for those who don't realize, I kind of mentioned this 10-year anniversary. It's not like you're in your 10th year. This is today. We're filming this on
Yeah,
the 12th of September.
yeah. We have a party
10-year
tonight.
anniversary today. So cool. Um, Listen, man, switching gears here a little bit in the
Yeah.
conversation. We're getting right up a button up against an hour long here. I want to ask you some lighter questions
No, you're good.
if you're game.
Whatever you want to ask, I'm game.
All right, man. So when you hear the term "goer in your salt," this is called the "Goer in Your Salt" podcast. What comes to mind?
I mean, and I feel like we're kindred spirits on this. It's like everything when I wake up in the morning and there's things that I have to do that day. Um, it's like a checklist of like uh, the beginning of the day versus the end of the day, and it's like I have a floor and a ceiling. Things that absolutely I can't go lower than this. It'd be great if I got to the ceiling. And if I've met that in the middle somewhere, man, I've earned my pat on the back. I've earned my fist bump or my proverbial high five. And to me, that's kind of the gist of like earning your salt. And it's like you've earned kind of that street cred, that credibility. And and it goes right back into training. And it can be a sport, it could be jujitsu, it could be anything. It's like if you put in the time and you put in the effort, you'll get the result. And to me, that's earning your salt,
Yeah.
like literally in that sense.
Yeah, that's well said, dude. This is gonna be an easy podcast to pull clips from, dude.
Good.
highlight reel here. What's your favorite pastime outside of jiu-jitsu? We talked about having these other hobbies, but what's your favorite outside?
Oh man. I mean, obviously love hanging out with my family. Like I'm terrible at video games, but my kids love video games, so I love getting beat at video games by my children. So that's also another humbling experience.
Yeah, white
Um,
belt.
I'm a white belt for sure. Um, we like going outside. We like camping and hiking and stuff like that. So that's always good if I can get outside. I love reading. I read a lot. Even when I'm not reading a book, if I'm driving somewhere, there's an audiobook on. So those things are always in my mind. And I try to, in the same vein, I always try to find books. I try not to pigeonhole myself into like one type of book. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't like this last couple months I've been reading like fantasy books because I don't read fantasy books. I don't read a lot of fiction books. So it's like, okay, I'm going to make myself read these. And I actually really enjoyed it, but pushing myself out of that and always trying to learn something is always fun to me. But yeah, reading's a big one. I love watching just random documentaries. It drives my wife nuts. She's like, "What are you watching?" I was like, "I don't know. I'm watching this documentary on sushi or whatever. I don't know, whatever it might be." It doesn't even hardly matter because I love just seeing kind of behind the curtain into a world. Not a big into like true crime. I feel like I've had enough of that in my life. But like any kind of documentary is usually
Sure.
good for me. But yeah,
That's
that's
funny,
how I
man,
spend my
because we're homies in that regard. Like, I'll watch the weirdest crap as long as it's like,
love it.
oh, that's kind of interesting.
Super interesting. It's like I watched this documentary. You might have seen it, but it's called Hero Dreams of Sushi.
No, I haven't
Oh,
seen that one,
it's
but
all it is
I
about
will
is an
now.
old Japanese guy named Hiro, and he has been making sushi for the last like 70 years. I don't know, something crazy. And like people that apprentice under him, they start by washing the fish, and they wash the fish for like 5 years before they're allowed to even try to make anything. And it's just wild. And when you go into his restaurant there in Japan, you don't order sushi. You just sit down. He makes you sushi. So that level of just mastery was just so impressed with me. I sat there and watched that for 2 hours and was just incredibly impressed that all this little old man does is he goes home and he dreams of sushi and how to make it better, comes back and does it better the next day. I'm like, that's so impressive that this guy's been doing this his whole life.
Dude, I feel like the Japanese have something special there where I
Oh,
was watching
absolutely.
one on making samurai swords and how they start with
See, I
sand.
would totally watch that. I would totally watch that.
Oh, it's the craziest thing because they start with just literally sand. They just scoop up sand and then they pulverize it by hand. And then they run it through this process to actually melt it and float the iron up there. And then it's like, it's all so intricate and it's so precise that it would take decades to learn. And I think their patience are just willing to sit through that and do this tedious thing to learn these details that you can only master after, 3
You can't
decades
help
of
but be
working on
impressed by
something.
that. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
any
it's like
documentary like that, I'm just like, yeah, I'll sit down and watch that. But a,
you
a
go
lot of
full
times,
nerd on
like,
it.
I know it's like you talk about like that high functioning ADD, but it's like I always have to have like three things going at a time. So I'm probably like writing my lesson plan for jujitsu while watching a documentary, and I might have music going on in the other room. And it's like I'm just floating. But that's how my brain works best. It's like, uh, even like I'll go down and I'll be doing my workout, be lifting weights, and I'm probably got my laptop out at the same time. And yeah, there's always like three things going on, and it drives my wife nuts because she's a hyper focuser. She can focus in and just everything else just zones out, and I have to have a lot of plates spinning to keep my brain going.
Oh, that's so funny, man. The differences there. Oh, so, Isaac, you mentioned you're a big reader. Okay,
Yeah.
what's a book that you would recommend everyone read?
Oh man. There's a swear in the title. Hope you're not offended, but it's the I know I say that joking. It's the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Yeah,
Have you ever read
I,
that?
I heard of that recently, actually.
Yeah. And there's a follow-up book that's just as good. It's called Everything is Fucked, but they're
Okay.
both great. Um, Mark Manson, it's super good book. But I I got the book because a few years ago I was going through cancer treatment and I was stuck in bed a lot. So I watched all the TV worth watching, and then people would just give me books. I mean, and thank God they did because it kept me busy. But that was one of the books somebody gave me, and I loved it because basically the premise is you have a finite amount of things you can care about, right? I only have so many fucks I can give, and you have to be careful where you divvy those out. So be mindful of what you're caring about. And if something doesn't matter, we don't have time to care about it. And I think that's a beautiful concept.
That really is, man, because it's funny because recently I was talking to a guy over coffee. We're sitting down, we're talking, and he's one of those tender-hearted dudes that just kind of he wants to help with everything.
Right. I
And it
get
was
that.
this
I feel that.
conversation like, man, we can't do that. We have a
Can't.
sphere where we can be effective, and if it's outside of that, someone else has to do that. And it's
Yeah.
just the facts of life.
And he probably feels that way because he's a good person, and I get
He's a
that.
good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk. You went through this cancer battle
Oh yeah.
because we talk
Yeah.
about this business thing, and it's just like all these cool business ideas, but this concept of everyone feels like the other guy's business is just a straight up arc, right? Or, straight
Yeah.
up
We all feel
trajectory.
that way. Like, oh, they're doing so
Yeah.
well. And maybe
Yeah.
they are. But
Yeah. But you had this big speed bump of cancer, man. Talk about that a little bit because I want to know what that fight was like and how you kept the vision for everything else, especially where you own a jiu-jitsu school and it's a very physical thing and you're not
right.
feeling very good. Imagine going through some
Right.
cancer treatment.
So it kind of harkens back to what we were talking about earlier about surrounding yourself with a good team. Because without that team, without that support group, one, I wouldn't be here, but two, my school definitely wouldn't be here because there was no way I was doing that on my own. Um, when I started my treatment, like, because everybody's like in the beginning, they're always like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna beat this," and it's good to be motivated like that because if once you break mentally, the physical goes with it. But having people pumped for me and cheering me on was super big. Um, in the beginning, like it was because you start out fairly healthy, and I mean, chemotherapy is just it's kind of kills you, but just enough, and then brings you back. Um, so I would go teach jujitsu. I'd have a chemo pump, a bag, and I'd have that hooked up to me in a port in my chest, and I'd go teach jujitsu holding this chemo pump, which in
Wow.
hindsight was a horrible idea because that's uh, if that spilled, that'd be so bad. It's a biohazard for sure. But having a team that would help me do that, and then the days where I just couldn't, they just took it and they just kept it going. So there was like that took a solid year of them just basically carrying it on their shoulders and my wife running a lot of the business side of it and I would on the day I felt good, man, we would go in and do it. On the days I didn't, the team took over and that's how that works. And if you think you can go through an experience like that on your own, that is not the methodology you want. Like you really need other people. And you start to look at the blessings that those people are in your life. And like we always value like, oh, I'm a strong person. It's like I'm stronger if I can rely on other people because then I don't have to do it all on my own. So we can always lift more together. Synergy, right? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and there's a lot of lessons back and forth a lot of things that I got from one that helped me with the other. My second chemo treatment, I'm sitting there in my chemo chair and they're trying this cocktail of drugs because they always give you a good grouping of drugs to try to quell your disease. Um, but as soon as they put it in, I had this like weird feeling in my mouth and my tongue started swelling and I had this like massive allergic reaction to the drug they gave me, which is pumping directly into like an artery by my heart and I had full anaphylactic shock, just like shaking, crashing. They pulled the crash cart out, and I'm like, I can't move. I'm like laid on my
Oh
side,
my
shaking, and
gosh.
all I can see is the crash cart, right? So I can see my heart rate, my blood pressure. And I'm like, well, we do this in jujitsu all the time, right? I'm just stuck under knee on belly. I better slow my heart rate down. And so I got
You
my
had that
heart rate
thought?
down. I did. I was like, and that's all I could do because I couldn't move my body. And so I got my heart rate down to like the 80s, and my blood pressure actually leveled off as they're like pumping me full of Benadryl and things like that. And I came back, and the doc's like, dude, I don't know what you did, but whatever it was, it saved your life. So when I talk like jokingly about like, oh, jujitsu saved my life, it's like that's it really literally did. And just like that mental side of it can carry you back. And it's the same way when I go back and I roll with somebody. When I roll with a guy half my age who's just beating the crap out of me, I'm like, psh, I've had worse. I died once. It's cool.
Dude, so it's so funny because I tell people when they ask me like, well, why do I do jujitsu? I'm 48 years old, and
Right.
you know, it's this. There's all these young guys who, or these giant dudes that just like smashing your head, and I always tell them
Right.
the most valuable thing I've ever learned in jujitsu is how to just be calm under real pressure. I'm getting
Yeah.
crushed,
It makes
and
everything
I
else
can
feel so
still.
easy.
So it's funny because that your doc says that saved your life, and it was that exact thing. It's that you're stuck. You can't move your body. You're
You
laying
can't.
there watching this monitor, realizing there's a big problem. But it's like, yeah, I've been here before.
Been
And
here
that,
before. It's fine. You get
dude,
those inner mantras in your head. Like, and I mean, if you need to say it out loud, say it out loud. But like, I'll be okay. I'll find an escape. I'll figure this out.
yeah,
And you just sit there and
timing.
repeat that in your head.
Oh man, that's cool, dude. That's a nugget. There's the nugget right there. If you've been listening to this thing for an hour and 10 minutes, that's your nugget.
That's your nugget. That's what you waited for. No.
Oh my gosh. All right, dude. So Crocs, the footwear. Is that even okay?
Oh man, hang on, hang on. I got mine on right now. So I got my Crocs right here.
Apparently it's okay.
It's
Do
okay.
yours?
Um, so like it's kind of funny because like I was kind of one of those. I was like Crocs, because like I mean we came up wearing flip flops to jujitsu and everything like that. I was like I never saw the need, never saw the point. Um, but it was actually like because I have a lot of foot problems and stuff too from years of abuse on my feet. But it was actually my doctor who recommended them. He's like, you should just wear Crocs. He's like, anytime you can, just wear your Crocs. He's like, then you're wearing a real shoe, but you can let your toes spread out and everything like that. So mine are doctor recommended.
Oh my gosh.
But I was
Do yours
talking
have
trash on
sport
him for a
mode,
long
dude?
time.
I learned
Yeah,
that Crocs have sport mode. Does yours have that
yeah,
option?
they do.
Oh my
I never
gosh.
use it, but
So rowdy. Oh goodness. Okay. I mean,
But
you've talked about
I think
cancer here,
my favorite pair of Crocs that I've seen, um, Thomas.
of
Have you
course.
seen his Crocs?
No.
He wears Buzz Lightyear Crocs, which is funny on a person who's like 6'2" and 200 something pounds, jujitsu
Yeah.
guy.
So
Cracks
I
me up.
want a picture of those Buzz Lightyear Crocs to post in here
I can do that.
because yeah, I got to see that crap.
It's pretty funny.
Scariest moment of your life.
Oh shoot,
I mean, you've
scariest
already
moment of my
mentioned
life.
cancer, my friend, but
Yeah, I mean, but that's a weird one in a sense because it's like early on. Um, I remember getting my diagnosis with that. Like, we done run all the tests, done all the things, and I'm sitting in a room. My doctor comes in, and we know each other really well. We've known each other for years, but he sits down and he's being as professional as he can, right? And he sits down and very professionally tells me like, "Hey, you've got this cancer," and I I just turned and looked at him and said, "Well, as long as I don't lose my hair." And my wife was so mad. She's like, "You're making jokes right now?" I'm like, "I don't know how else to do this." So, um, but it was always like this acceptance, and I think I think it actually started in law enforcement because you have to be okay with giving your life for something, and if you're okay with that, you've kind of wrapped your head around that. It takes some of the scary out of it. It takes some of the fear out of it. So, like I legitimately believe most cops aren't scared of death. That's not what they're scared of. They're scared of a lot of other things, but they're not scared of death. And I think that carried over into the cancer treatment too, where it's like that didn't really freak me out because it's like, okay, I know where my soul's at. I know I'm good with who I am, and if this is the legacy I leave, great, that's fine. But I think the scarier things for me are um, just anything happening to the people I care about. Like those are the scary moments for me. So um, like I just dropped my oldest son off at college. He's going to Idaho State University, which is only an hour from me. Um, but all the scary things I've been stabbed, shot at, all these things. That was a scary moment for me because I'm like, okay, hopefully I did my job, right? Hopefully as a parent, I did a good enough job to where he can go out and operate in the world as a junior adult and figure things out. Now, granted, he's like an hour away, a phone call away, but that was still like probably one of the scariest things for me. It sounds silly, but yeah, stuff like that scares me more than the violence.
It's such a funny thing, man, because we all have those things, right? I uh
Yeah,
I don't do spiders real well. I'm
dude,
much bigger. I've never lost a battle to a spider.
right.
But man,
I feel you.
it still freak me
Yeah,
out. But then like, yeah, I don't know.
it's
We
those
we all
things,
have our things, and yeah, I
We
could
all
see
have
that.
those things.
We
Yeah,
all
that
have our
freak you
oh,
out.
that's wild. Um, you ever get kicked out of school?
Oh, dude. Um, so like growing up, like through elementary school, I was actually homeschooled, and then going to public school. I didn't go to public school till like junior high, so like seventh, eighth grade around there, and I was not great at social interactions at that point in my life. Like, like I'd done sports, like I'd done wrestling and everything like that, but that doesn't really give you a good beat on how to act socially in a normal setting. Um, so all I knew about like social interaction was sports, which doesn't always carry over. And so I throughout high school, I got in a lot of fights, got in a lot of trouble because I genuinely love to have fun. And unless I know it's hard to imagine, but I can be even less mature than I am now. And I would get into trouble in that sense. But yeah, like never anything like, jail worthy, but stuff like that, I would always get kicked out of school for that. So
Love it, man. This is why we're friends, man, because we can be less mature
exactly,
than
you
we
get
are
it.
now. We're on
I feel
camera,
like
man.
that's a degrading scale for sure. Just
Well,
the
that's the
longer things
funnest.
go on, the less I care. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, well, it's back to the title of your book, right?
Right, exactly.
um, what's something on your bucket list that you wanna do before you cash it in? Hey, has all that talk about salty electrolytes made you wonder what all the fuss is about? Have you thought that maybe one day you'd like to try that stuff? Well, today's your lucky day because Salty Electrolytes is offering free samples to listeners of this podcast who have not yet tried this amazing electrolyte supplement. All you have to do is head on over to goearnyourSalt.com and use the code PODSAMPLE at checkout to receive your free sample kit. There will also be a link in the description of this podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
Oh man, one of the things that's definitely on my bucket list. I'd love to travel more. Like I've done a little bit of travel, but not compared to some. I've seen a lot of the U.S., but I'd love to travel more internationally and just see the world because I love meeting new people. I love meeting people from other cultures, and I've found that with jujitsu, I have kind of a gateway, so to speak, to where you can get into those people and have a common bond like right as soon as we get going. So having something to talk to about people is good, but just travel. I would love to travel more and just see the world. I love that kind of stuff. Just meeting new people, trying new things. That'd be a fun thing to do before we go. Before
Where's
we check
somewhere
our
you'd
bud.
really like to see?
Oh man, Spencer just went to Thailand this year, and he came back with all these pictures and everything. It just looks beautiful. I'd love to go to Thailand. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Um, yeah, places like that would be a good time.
I've always wanted to see like the castles and European castles.
Heck yeah.
Um, I
Yeah,
want to
we took
fly
a
fish
trip.
in New Zealand so bad.
Yeah, yeah, stuff like that. You get it. So yeah, just going places and going like if you go to a place and doing like the quintessential thing for that place. I just want to try it.
It's funny because, dude, I am like exactly the opposite. If I went to Paris, the Eiffel Tower would be like the bottom of the list. There's so many other things I'd want to do.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
pyramids would be cool though. I'd love to see a
pyramids would be
pyramid.
cool. That would be cool for sure.
We took a family vacation over to Yellowstone, and I mentioned before I'm a fly fisherman, and I was like, y'all go see Old Faithful. I've been there, done that. Don't care if I ever see it again. But there's a
Right.
trout. I
I
might
know
get
there
eaten
is
by a
right over
bear.
there. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll die happy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. In fact, I got into a situation down there where I was fishing, and all of a sudden I started hearing something in the brush, and you don't know what's over there, right? And
Right.
one time, you'll like this story, but I'm fishing in the spot that's right by the highway, right? And dude, I'm getting in the fish. I'm catching some nice ones, and the road was above me, but all of a sudden this car just pulls over and stops. I'm like, that's weird. Are they just watching me fish? Because guys do that all the time. They see a fly fisherman out there. They'll come and watch you. But then another car, then another car, then another car. And all of a sudden they're just backing up, man. They're like a quarter mile long of cars. I'm like, okay, they see an animal. Okay. And now I'm starting to question, like, what is this animal? Because I'm below and I can't see what they're looking at. But I
Turning.
start noticing all the cameras pointing at a place, and as these cameras are pointing, I'm realizing whatever this critter is, it's right across the street from me. And so I start wading downstream because I don't know what's coming over that hill. Something's coming over. I don't know what it is. Could it be a moose? Could it be a bear? Could it, maybe it's a coyote. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to be there when it comes over. And so I start hiking down the thing. Well, as I'm walking down river, the cameras are all pointing right parallel. They're just right with me. So whatever's coming is following me where I'm, the same path. And I get down there. I'm like, I don't even know what to do here, man. Do I cross the river and climb out the other side and hope they don't come over here? Because most of these critters can cross the river too. It got my heart rate up pretty good. And when I finally got to the road and was able to get up and see what it was, it was herd of 5 or 6 elk, that were
Nice.
were there. They never even
Definitely not
crossed
the
the road.
worst option.
Yeah, definitely not the worst option. But man, it got me thinking. Well, what's next for you, man? Where you going from here?
Oh shoot. I mean, right now, I'm pretty excited to do that 10-year anniversary thing. That's going to be tonight's party. But always looking ahead, and that's part of the, I don't know, but my team always says I'm always looking for work for them to do, but that's what it's all about. It's like we're looking for the next project. Um, Looking at doing some more work. I designed a program for the hospital here for their security program. And I mean, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to you as a jiu-jitsu person because you take somebody that's working security in a hospital, they can't just punch people and drop them on their heads like they're still in charge of their care. So how
Yeah.
do you control somebody without hurting them? It's like it's jiu-jitsu. So I designed a program for them that's very fundamental, but how to control somebody who's violent or out of control without hurting them. But that was a lot of fun to do. I'm looking at doing some more hospitals and healthcare facilities like that. Just expanding the business model to incorporate different components like that to where
Ooh,
more revenue streams and more projects, but stuff like that.
that's beautiful, man. That's something people don't think about that happens in
Ah,
hospitals, right? Is
yeah,
sometimes patients are, not even purposely doing it. Something happens. They
right,
get hit in the head. There's like this disconnect from their normal self where they panic and yeah, bad things happen, or it's drug induced, or all kinds of stuff that can happen. But being
right.
able to be physical but not cause more damage than's already there, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And of course, like we're always looking for more jiu-jitsu competitions. We're looking at the bigger, badder ones too. Still involved with PGF, managing athletes with them and helping them as well. Um, I guess question for you is like, I'm sure you watched CJI and PGF and all those. What were some of your takeaways from all these big events we've had lately? What do you think?
There's controversy there, right? And I'm
Yeah,
not
there
sure
is.
I get on board with the controversy, dude. I mean, you set up a certain rule set, like CGI, for instance, the second one. A lot of people criticizing the lack of action, right? The stalling and the stuff that's going on there. That's the rule set. They were playing to the rule set. They were
Yeah.
doing what they had to do to win. There's $1 million on the line. It's a team
And if
thing.
the
They've got the
roles
good
reversed,
quintet
everybody
format.
would be doing the same thing. They'd be gaming it
That's
too.
exactly
So
right. We watched in the previous one, Luke Rockhold got all bent because all these guard pullers. And what's he do when he first walks into the round? Freak pulls guard, right? And
because you want to
so
win.
yeah, man, it's you're playing to the rule set. So
Yeah.
okay, I see the efficiency of pulling guard. I love the memes that criticize guard pullers, but I'm
I think
old
of
guy, man. I'll
people,
pull guard in a second.
I know, when I think of people trashing on guard pulling, it's like, it really to me that says you can't pass guard. Like that's really what it
Yeah.
means to me. But yeah, I had the same feeling. As far as the jujitsu goes, I'm like, man, they're just playing to their rules. And they because they're all high profile guys, right? Like
Yeah.
Chris Wojcik's a buddy of mine, and everybody knows what Chris wants. Everybody knows what Chris is going for. They've
It's
all
gonna take your
watched,
foot home.
so yeah, and so they know what to avoid, and so it kind of stalemates a lot just because of how well these guys are known. So I didn't have, I think I love watching Bodoni. I think his jiu-jitsu is so smooth and clean and just stuff like that. So I didn't mind that at all. The only part that I thought was kind of was a lot of the Renato Laranja and Gabby Garcia. Like if they could just take the mics away from those guys, it probably would have been great.
It's funny, man, because yeah, I get the character aspect of it. Craig Jones's walkout, I was like, I don't even see why you did that. It didn't even make any sense to me at all.
It didn't.
That's not who he is in the first place, and so it just
I
seemed
know.
really out of place for me. Don't care. They can do what they want. I've heard
Right.
criticism on both sides of that. PGF was freaking amazing, man. I think
So good.
those guys have something very unique,
It's very special and it's gonna grow.
Yeah. The new format of the weekly thing, I think, makes sense in a lot of ways. It'll be interesting
I
to
think
see
it's
how
better
that
for
goes
the
long
athlete.
term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, because the marathon format that we had before, it was 6 days straight. You talked about
Yeah.
guys getting
Which was
broken.
cool. Yeah, it was cool because it was like an Iron Man, right? It's like, okay, who's
Yeah.
gonna last? But I
Yeah,
don't want
which
to see
was
my
a part
friends
of the
get hurt.
strategy, right? And I loved that aspect. I actually
Sure.
liked that better, if I'm truthful.
No, I
However,
liked it too.
it was also creating some buzz with athletes that were like, it's too much. The risk of me getting hurt and it affecting the rest of my career was
Right. It's
some
costing them
guys
money.
weren't wanting to be part of it because of that. And I thought, yeah, I see
Yeah.
that part too. So
Yeah. So I get why they
yeah,
did it. I mean,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
cool in a sense, like you had to be super gritty. Like you had to be a dog to get through that because a lot of guys
yeah.
didn't finish the week. So I do
Yeah,
miss
a lot of
that in
guys
a
didn't,
sense.
and then guys like Kyle Bame, right? When he bails out that last week, and there's part of me that's like, man, why are you doing that? But then when you hear his side of it, it's like,
It makes
dude,
sense.
I have a shot at making that $100,000, but it's only a shot, and these are world class guys here, and I'm already hurting, and I've got these other competitions set up that it wouldn't take much to put me out of all of those,
Right. Then it's
and
costing you
so I
lots of
kind of
money.
get it,
I
It's
get
like,
it. And I think
I
it's
hear
a
you,
good
bro.
model for the future and for the athletes. Because you look at what they're doing and they're building teams, they're building franchises to where, like, that's always been the dream. It's like, how does a jiu-jitsu athlete make a living doing what they love? And that's the model. That's how we do it.
That's the mom. Yeah. Yeah. I think what, both of those events, CJI and McCatherine's, the PGF, they're changing the industry, right? They're really flipping
Yes.
that on its head. It's so creative, man. I love talking to Brandon because he's
He's a
like we were
blast, dude.
talking about earlier, sometimes we just feel like we're making crap up as we go. He's just making crap up as he goes. It's well thought
But it-
through,
Oh, it's well thought through, and
but
he
it's
thinks
new.
so fast. He thinks so
Yeah.
fast, and he's just boom, 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 idea after another, and a solid guy. I love BMAC to death.
Yeah, man, that's a great dude. Hopefully one day I get to have him on here. Awesome, dude. Well, listen, we're gonna wrap it up.
Sure.
I am super honored that you came on here. It's
Oh,
really fun
my
to talk to
pleasure.
you. The more we talk, the more I realize why we get along so well. Because I was
You
like,
know, right?
we think so much alike, dude. It's been a
So much.
pleasure.
Kindred spirits, for
Isaac,
sure.
go earn your salt, my friend.
Will do.
Hey, you've just finished up this episode, and I want to know, are you or someone you know a getting after it, go earn your salt type of person? If so, message me directly on Instagram at the Go Earn Your Salt podcast, and perhaps we can have you on the show. Also, if you like this content, leave us a review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And perhaps this podcast can help you and them go earn your salt.